Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all of you for the second session of the day. Now it's time to invite our esteemed speaker. I'm extremely honored to introduce an enthusiastic speaker for the session, Dr. Joshphar Kunapo. Presently, he is the director at Grace Detailed-GIS Services and Spatial Scientist at University of Melbourne. He has completed Master of Technology in Remote Sensing, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University. He has received PhD from Monash University, Australia for the thesis short title Modeling Hydrological Impacts of Residential Development Related to Water Sensitive Urban Design, WSUD. Dr. Joshphar is a GIS and remote sensing expert with special emphasis on spatial hydrology and water sensitive urban design. He is currently working on effective impervious modeling, derivation of channel metrics using LIDAR, wetland or water bodies delineation, and catchment-wide ecological modeling. He has expertise in feature extraction using high-resolution datasets, sea level rise modeling, flood modeling, forest understory or overstory modeling, etc. He has developed robust desktop or internet intranet-based GIS tools. He holds various positions such as Spatial Scientist at University of Melbourne, Director at Grace Detailed GIS Services Melbourne, GIS Consultant at Department of Sustainability and Environment Melbourne, Researcher at Monash University Melbourne, GIS Consultant at Mahendra Satyam Singapore, Project Manager and Research Fellow at National University of Singapore, Project Manager at Singapore, GIS Consultant at New Delhi. We are very extremely grateful and happy to sir for accepting our kind invitation and making his presence here for this webinar. I now invite him to enlighten the participants with his talk. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much for the nice introduction. So I'll share my screen to begin with. So are you able to see the screen with the title there? Yeah. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Always love to see some of our folks. And yeah, I'm delighted to present something what we do there in Melbourne. So without further ado, I'll move on to the topic. So the title of the presentation is Spatially Explicit Framework for Climate Adaptation. So the case study is the city of Melbourne. So most of us have seen at least the MCG, Melbourne Cricket Ground. So Melbourne is the study area. So here are the projections for the Melbourne by 2070. We are expecting increased number of days of extreme heat over 35 degrees centigrade. You can visualize something Melbourne like Delhi. We have hot summers and very cold winters. But during summer, we're expecting even extreme heat over 35 degrees centigrade, even 20 days, up to 26 days max. So we are actually worried about this one because here, as you know, same with California, state of Victoria also, we see a lot of forest fires and our summer is a bit harsh. Not 35 could be very easy here in India, but for us it will be too bad. Then we're also talking about plus or minus plus 2.6 degrees increase temperatures, and also either drought or lower rainfall conditions, or also we have extreme rainfall conditions as well. And by 2100, we are also expecting a rise of close to just more than 1 meter sea level rise. I will show you where city of Melbourne is located. Most of you know on the globe, but I will remind you. So we are a coastal city. Most of the Australian cities are coastal cities. So when the fleet came to Australia, they settled all along the coasts of Australia and developed cities. So Melbourne, similar to Sydney, it is a coastal city, and it is formed all along Yarra River. So we have river to consider, we have sea level to look into, and either drought or extreme rainfall issues. So this is just the administrative area of City of Melbourne. What you're looking at here is a thermal image. Using thermal sensors, the imagery has been captured. The red indicates high temperature, like the surfaces which emitting high degrees of temperature, and the green indicates low. So as we can assume, any of the greenery would reflect less temperature than those which are of impervious. But even in that, you can see the gridded pattern, which is nothing but the roads. Roads are emitting higher temperature. So this is to give the look at how each surface. There are some special surfaces which actually emit higher temperature than the others. So this study is to understand what sort of surfaces, even the color of the surfaces, even the material of the surfaces would emit more temperature or even radiate more temperature. So this is the thermal image of the city, the study area. And we're talking about, the adaptation approach is to increase canopy cover, because everyone knows the more the trees, the cooler the place would be. Also increase permeability, because we need to maintain the soil moisture, and increase green space, and also increase stormwater harvesting, be it distributed retarding basins or even water tanks, or even any other stormwater control measures, also even bioretention systems, any of these things. So that's the adaptation approach. Now coming to where to do, what to do, obviously there could be opportunistic approach. The other one is strategic approach. Sometimes being an engineer, you may be looking locally everything, and there is an opportunity, you may focus on that area and do it. But if you are a visionary and if you wanted to look things broadly, you will come from catchment wide in a view and a bird's view. Look for the strategic approach where it would actually deal with the problem much better than dealing very locally. So that's where the spatial component comes into picture, where the GIS, any other database or any other things will normally answer how much, what, that sort of questions. But GIS has that intelligence of location, which answers the question where to do, where I should be targeting. So the ICAM, Integrated Climate Adaptation Model, the objective is to inform strategic decisions relating to drought, soil moisture, tree health, flood risk, sea level risk. And also it should help us to identify most vulnerable areas. And it should help us to compare various adaptation strategies, whether to put green infrastructure or, gray infrastructure. Again, obviously gray infrastructure is not what we don't want to favor. It's not easy to remove the pipe and put a big pipe. And environmental friendly also, we should promote more of green infrastructure. That doesn't mean that can happen every time. So even comparing various strategies. And also the objective is to facilitate communication. So we wanted to finally put all those layers on the web and people should be able to switch on and off, and even switch on combination of variables to see the outputs. So the web part is only the visualization part. So the communication part, when I say, that is actually the visualization part. Now, what the approach involves also, we wanted to do it pretty detailed, which meaning spatially explicit. And it's not a lumped approach, it's a distributed flow modeling, and also multi-layered, multi-criteria analysis. And we have, fortunately, LiDAR data acquisition happening now and then very frequently. Some of you may know LiDAR is light detection and ranging. So it provides us a very high resolution digital elevation models. It provides us even the non-ground information like trees and roofs. And it's very detailed elevation information. And when I say detailed, we're talking about, we can have a digital elevation model which is of 1 meter by 1 meter. So which means you would know on ground without doing any surveys, just by having this LiDAR data, you have control. And now we're talking about plus or minus 10 centimeter accuracy, this data, both vertical as well as horizontal accuracy. So with such data set, then it is very handy to know the slope of it. Most of you would have played with elevation models. Once you have elevation, you can have slope, you can have aspect, which is the direction of the slope, flow directions, and many other variables out of the elevation model, catchments and all that. So the other layers, as I showed you, thermal data, and also we use climate data to model various AEPs for flood modeling. So we gone pretty detailed, but we also looked into things like other variables as well. Like, for example, as I said, 1 meter cell size is our minimum cell size to use for the elevation model. We have gone by catchment-wise understanding of local problems. This is very important because your study area where it is situated in that entire catchment makes a lot of problem, a lot of difference. In the next slide, I show you where City of Melbourne is with respect to its river Yarra. But here you can see we also have the, in between Melbourne and you have sea, and the bottom part is Tasmania. So we have, as I said, it's a coastal city. Now, this is the catchment for that City of Melbourne. City of Melbourne is at the mouth of the catchment, and you see how big is the catchment with respect to the study area, and it is at the mouth, which means any upstream activity, any upstream variables, or even the rainfall or anything which is going to affect that study area, because that's crucial. It is to understand the boundary conditions to the study area. So, and also we need to understand the geomorphology. So that City of Melbourne, it has some paleo channels as well. If you see on the right side, which we can't see anything now because every tall building is there, visually you won't be able to see any issues. But if you look at geomorphology of this area, it has a lot of areas which actually connects unexpectedly other areas. Even the river, if it overflows good enough, it can overflow till to the very edge of the ocean. Touch wood, it may not happen, but I'm talking about a 2 meter increase of river rise and the sea level rise together can wipe away the whole of the paleo. It can actually take completely different route. None of the drainage infrastructure will be able to help. Rather, they will all be closed. They will be dysfunctional if that happens. So the other important, like these are all the hydrographic sites, and where we have continuous monitoring stations, so continuous discharge locations. We know how much of water is coming in. So for any given study area, it is important to know the boundary conditions, because we won't be able to model everything for the entire catchment. But if we are modeling only your area, you should also look at all the inputs into your area. So this is to show you how we have taken care of the boundary conditions using the discharge locations. So then, because we're talking about 1 meter by 1 meter elevation model, if you look at the right-hand corner, what you're looking at, the brown lines, they are just the pipe network. Obviously, there may be some broken digitization errors will be there. Some of the broken lines doesn't give any connectivity. We don't even know where that water is going. But that can be turned into a very meaningful information when you plug that pipe network into the digital elevation model. You see the bottom left one. It is exactly representing the same lines, but these are automated digital lines. But it has meaning. The thicker the lines, that's where the higher the flow accumulating. So now it is speaking. You can understand within that little figure itself where the flow is being accumulated. And this modeling, flow modeling, is we call engineered digital elevation model, which means we take the LiDAR digital elevation model, we condition that one using the existing pipe network as well as the stream network. Out of that output, which we call engineered digital elevation model, you can generate flow lines which represent the true engineered pipe network, but with a meaning. So in here, we have applied Strahl stream order. That is showing how the branches are feeding into each other. The thicker the lines, that's where the water is being accumulated. So in a snapshot, you know where the water is going, which means you can also do some intervention modeling. On the right, before I move on to the other one. So on the right, what you're looking at is for each pit, for each important area, you can get a sub-catchment modeled as well. If you want to do anything within that area, you can handle that one. Or if you see some problem areas where flooding is happening, you need to divert, you know where to divert. If there is a possibility, you may put a different pipe and enroute that one somewhere else. That way, the upstream won't affect the downstream area where you have been facing flooding. So very handy, and this doesn't cost you leg and arm, because we're talking about LiDAR. The technology is there. It's very proven technology, and plus or minus 10 centimeter accuracy. And we have been very benefited with this LiDAR technology. So then we may talk about what sort of infrastructure should go in. When we talk about, okay, there is a downstream problem area, we need to do something to the upstream, or we need to do some upstream catchments, to some tidying up. We may have to bring green infrastructure as much as possible. It can even be, you can see green roofs. Some of my colleagues are there, and all permeable paving, street tree, rain gardens, or stormwater harvesting, or many other green infrastructure can be the option. The next one, when you cannot do anything, you have to put some pipes. Obviously, gray infrastructure will come in. Where there is possibility to upgrade the pipe network, you can upgrade that as well. So that's the main objective. Then we have come up with a framework, which means what are all the variables we should look in so that we can identify vulnerable areas. We can then compare some adaptation strategies. Should it be a green infrastructure? Should it be a gray infrastructure? Should we have water tanks, or should we have bioretention system? So we should have some options, cost-effective way of comparing options, and to have a web interface to facilitate that sort of exercise. This may not be 100% giving you a straight answer, but at least it will guide you. And then from there to move on to the ground, to assess it properly and to take decisions. So towards that one, this interface is actually to serve few models we call heat model, drought model, flood model, river rise model, sea level rise model, and then looking at them in an integrated way. And then we have, once we know the vulnerable areas, then looking for intervention modeling. Okay, what are the options available? What sort of intervention we can do there? I will take you through maybe one example of how it works, but just to give you quickly the interface, what these models are. Heat model is basically, as I showed you in the beginning, so that's the temperature thermal acquisition, and we have categorized areas where we took 26 out of some literature, I think, so 26 degrees as the threshold to see all the areas greater than 26 degrees. So that will show basically the pockets where the temperature has been more than 26 degrees. The surface is reflecting that much. And also we have tree data. It has information like the amount of shadow they cast, and also the heat tolerance from 1 to 5. We have that sort of information for each tree within the city of Melbourne. So then we have even the criteria, hotspot criteria. We have developed a criteria to show we want to see those hotspot areas. So what you're looking at here, maybe the insert is actually zoomed in version. You can see the red bits are those which are greater than 26. Are those areas, be it roads most likely, or could be some other surfaces. They are emanating more than 26 degrees temperature. And so that is showing those pockets. Then this particular one, it's showing hotspot areas greater than equal to 5 and some criteria, the trees which casting shadow less than 2, the heat tolerance is less than 3, something like that. You can switch on these parameters to visualize where they are. And this is showing the good trees which are showing shadow cost is these are the ones which are with shadow cost less than 1. So the interface is basically to give you even the tree locations where the heat tolerance is less. So which means we have to be careful what sort of surfaces are around and what we can do. Do we need to change the species, or do we need to change the surface, make it more permeable, make it more green space, make it more suitable so that the trees won't be affected here. So that's about the heat model. You can even see a zoomed in version of it. This is the interface is to show the outputs basically, but the outputs have to be developed individually and served on the web server. Then comes to drought model. This is a simplistic model. It will show all the irrigated assets as a GIS layer. And it will also show you the trees, and the trees have information drought tolerance scaled from 1 to 5. Here it is showing all the trees which are have a drought tolerance less than 3, which means less tolerant. And then we know, okay, this is the area which we should be careful about. Then coming to flood model, we have generated various AEPs. And for each of the AEP, we have hazard raster, depth raster, and the velocity raster. So users can select what AEP and what duration, whether 3-hour duration or whatever the duration they want to look at. We have developed series of flood models and placed them on the web server. Users can actually pick up a particular scenario and it will bring up respective grids and it will show them there. So that's the interface to show. And for example, what you're looking at here is the red bit in the middle. That's where actually the flood velocity is greater for a 100-year event, which is 1% AEP. And so these are the areas it will highlight as a vulnerable area. If there is a 100-year event, and if there is something else, so you can keep on adding other model variables as well. Then it will isolate those areas and will show you as the vulnerable areas. So this is also showing a similar thing with other infrastructure information there. So that's about the flood model. Then we also have Yarra River posing problems. As I said, it's a big river. It is coming from a big catchment. It may not rain anything in the city of Melbourne, but there may be somewhere upstream huge rain that can increase our river. So we have our river modeling done at 10 centimeter interval up to 3 meters, I think. Yeah, up to 3 meters from 1 meter. So users can actually define at what centimeter, what if it is 20 centimeter increase, or if it is 30 centimeter increase. And accordingly, it will show the inundated areas because of the river. This is not to do with actual, this is only the river rise. But along with this, let us say you have even sea level rise, because it's a coastal city as well. If you can see here, I don't know whether you can see my mouse. This is that paleo channel I was talking about. And this is our river. And this area, currently we are looking at 200 meter sea level rise. At 2.5, this whole thing will be together. The whole entire area can be together. None of the drainage infrastructure will be working because everything is choked up, blocked, and the whole area will be inundated. So once we have all these models served on the web as an integrated approach, you may ask questions like, okay, I want to see vulnerable areas because of sea level rise, because of river rise, because of drought tolerance, because of heat model. You can actually query, you can actually select multiple criteria, and it will be able to show you the location or the area where you should do something about it. So that's the main objective. So the first objective is to display what I want to display. Obviously, this interface is not generating anything. It is actually displaying pre-generated models in a convenient way to look for those vulnerable areas. And once you know the vulnerable areas, because we have such a detailed digital elevation model, we have subcatchments and everything working behind. So you can select, let's say, intervention model. I'll show you now. So each area, the entire area is segmented into subcatchments and major catchments for each pit, which means so minute detailed catchments are there. You can say the entire area is segmented based on the flows. And user can actually select any one area where they wanted to do something. It will give them the entire catchment. It will also give them the subcatchments in it. Maybe I think, let's say we're talking about, you want to do something in here. So you may choose that pit and it will immediately show you what is the respective catchment for that one. Here you can see the red boundary is the catchment, and the internal subcatchment is also shown. As how much of previous information, all those things it will display. So for example, here it is showing it's a subcatchment and it has this much of pervious area, this much of roof area, it has this much of other impervious, which is ground impervious area. This has this much of tree area, subcatchment. Then using that one, you can now go to intervention modeling. It can be related to tree health. It can be related to potable water, and there are many other things. So let's now quickly move on to, maybe I'll go through a scenario, but this is just to show you the interface of intervention modeling. So once you know a vulnerable area, you want to do something there, and you select that area, it will give you existing information of what it has in terms of roofs, trees, pervious areas, impervious areas, and then you can feed in that information. And we have developed this in R Studio. And so you can say, I want a flood storm event, or even you can say climate change scenario. How about if it is warmer, little rainfall change? Or you can actually select multiple options here, as you can see. You can actually choose various options and then talk about, okay, I will show you a scenario here. So user wanted to do a tree health scenario, selects a particular catchment, and then it will, the selection here is tree health, long period, no or little rain, and 1% AEP for flood storm event. Future climate scenario is much hotter and much drier, and then presses the model intervention. And that will launch this interface, which is intervention modeling. It will show you the historic impervious runoff and what it would be with the climate change impacted one. Then it will also show you things like, this is about impervious runoff. Then it will show you the soil moisture storage, what can happen for that particular subcatchment. Then it will also give an interface where you can model something. If you want to put water tanks, you can choose an intervention like tanks. What is the roof area draining into the intervention? How much of, whether what you will do with other impervious area, will you turn that into a rain garden? So you can actually choose various parameters here, and then then you run the intervention model. It will display the intervention model with the parameters like this, and with a report showing before intervention and after intervention, and what was the climate in scenario, what has been selected. So yeah, for some of you it may be too much into it, but I'm giving a brief idea about what this tool does.
Hello. Sir, you seem to...
Yeah, sorry, I think it has understood my presentation is finished. So it says host disable participant screen sharing.
1 second, sir. Let me enable.
Yeah.
So can you switch on your video?
I did switch on. Yeah, can you see me now?
No, actually no, sir.
And it's still saying host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay. Should I come back again? Should I come out and come back?
Yeah, please, sir. Rejoin also. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯಿಲ್ಲ.
Yeah, is it good now?
Sir, actually, there are two logins in your name. Maybe that is causing an issue.
Okay. What happened? Two logins is something.
Yes.
Is this better?
So let
Hello?
me check. Sir,
Can you
do
hear
you
me now?
see do you see a pop-up screen now asking you to
Yeah,
share?
yeah. It says start my video. Yeah.
I cannot still see you, sir. One second.
What I can see is that Department of Civil Engineering logo. It's coming here,
Uh-huh.
and it says recording live. Is it because of the recording thing?
No, I don't think so. That is a problem. Okay, you changed the name. Joshphar. Okay.
I logged out twice and came back.
No, I'm asking you to start video, but I cannot see your video still. Sir.
Yeah, on the screen, I can see myself in the video.
Okay. Can you see me, sir?
No, all are, I can only see the names. No. What happened? Yeah. Try again.
Sir,
I can see you now. Yeah, I can see you.
yeah, I'll do that, but
Can you see me now?
so you can try sharing now, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I can share now as well. Okay. Is it good?
No, sir, we cannot still see you.
It allowed me to share. I'm able
Yeah,
to share
I
now.
gave you permission as a participant, but I still let me see. Let me pin. No, sir.
It's actually more of questions. I finished my presentation, so it's more of questions. Yeah.
Okay, fine, sir. So we can have questions.
Thank you, Doctor.
No worries.
So we will have a question answer session.
Yeah.
So I request all the participants to have a ready with your questions. So first question, yeah.
So you have shown us different data models like the drought data model and sea level and the flood level data models. So can I ask what's the validation for that?
So, well, as I said, the digital elevation model is very important. And also the pipe network has to be reliable. So you need to be careful with the levels of in the pipes. And the validation is also historical flood photos. So what we do is whenever there is a flood, there will be someone flying and taking the flood extents. So our model has to match those realistic extents. You got it? Like the flood photos, in the sense when exactly the real flooding happens, and someone flies over and take the actual aerial photos.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, as you have mentioned almost in all the data model, as you have mentioned it many times, the maximum temperature is emitted by the roads. How much of difference can we make in it by applying modern road construction methods? By modern road construction methods, I mean applying modern materials such as plastic road or changing the materials for road construction.
Yeah. I can't quantify, but that's the way we are all progressing. This is what we have to, the whole exercise is to clearly show the old way of roads is going to emanate problem, and we have to change the roof material. We have to do something because the roads are emanating high temperatures. So I think a lot of research is happening in terms of material, what should be used, and also civil roads also could be another option, which is too ahead of it, but the research is going towards it, right? You guys will be doing all that.
Thank you, sir.
Next.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
My question is, the start you told that ICAM just gives the outputs regarding like maps and regarding the thermal data, climate data and all. So the next one, intervention model, is going to give you the solution part of it. So like I would like to ask you regarding how we can go for a commercial side of it. Like we see that now GIS is making mark, and we get to see many consultancies and all coming out with this. How can this ICAM be brought out into a commercial model and like we kind of work in Indian context? Like we see many metropolitan cities and also smart cities emerging out. With this ICAM model, I think we can use it as a proactive model before getting into the implementation phase of any projects that shall be coming out in near future. That is my
Exactly. It's a very good thought. This is what is as a consultant, my idea is also to be able to sell this as a product, and which basically takes certain inputs and does it. It don't have to be web one, because a lot of people have to put it on web because of the sensitivity of the type of information. Let's say you are showing some extent and saying this is going to be flooded because of this scenario.
Yes, sir.
That guy will call you and say my property market is down, no one is buying my property. So this is a lot of sensitive information. So we commercialized in such a way.
Sir?
It's gone again. Can you now?
Yes.
So when we do come with commercialization of this sort of projects, it involves a lot of sensitivity because of the sort of the issue we are talking about. And the owners will call you, pester you and saying that of you, my property has gone down and all that. So yeah, it can be a desktop model which can be sold to departments as an internal assessment model.
Yes,
so
sir.
what we did actually is a intranet application, not internet application, because of sensitivity. It's a right, it's just a switch over.
Sir, but presently, so presently, like even the governments are kind of lending it out or outsourcing for the PMCs itself with regards to such kind of technologies, because they don't have that required resources or the kind of capacity built tools at their disposal.
Agree.
So
Yeah. Let's keep on dropping. So I will change my. Hello.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm saying definitely there's opportunity to make it as an open source or even commercial, whatever it is, but definitely there is an opportunity to someone to take on. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sir, as you have mentioned that there will be projected rise in temperature which will lead to drought and less rainfall. So India being an agriculture fit country with high usage of water resources, how can we improve, sustain whatever water source we have, especially improving irrigation system and maintaining our land resources inventory?
Two things. India is a diverse nation. So the problems I am talking about can work differently. For example, Jaipur city. If you want to make it as a blue city, green city, whatever, it's a dry one. You may be doing a lot of drought sort of modeling. You're not worried much about flooding. But when it comes to some other areas where you have a lot of problems with flooding. But the approach tells us that it has to be done catchment wide, not just, for example, we have here in Andhra Pradesh, when they were doing Amravati, I don't know whether you heard about Amravati city. Our Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu at that time wanted to build Amravati similar to Singapore. But they were missing a lot of information about catchment wide issues. We know there will be flooding problems and all. So we have to always look from a broad point of view with the remote sensing and bird's view in consideration than very engineered local, focusing only on the local problems. Yeah. So that's one. The next thing we are saying is how we can, it's all to do with the area you select. And obviously the greenery is going to reduce the temperatures. You know it, right? So that's a known fact. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. And now we have come to an end. I request Professor Nisar Ahmed, sir, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you very much, Doctor, for your first of all accepting and delivering the wonderful presentation. So there were some interventions were there. So definitely, when you come down to Bangalore, you come down to Hyderabad, especially Andhra Pradesh. So we love to hear you from one-to-one discussion here at RIT. So
Definitely.
probably Dr. Ganesh Raj is saying that, so you're on the way to India. So you have to, then we can have at least one-day workshop here. So where we can utilize a complete one-day session with you. So basically a one-to-one interaction.
Yeah.
So we have the students, so especially in final year, who are very much interested even to carry out the final year projects or entrepreneurs, a lot of things are there.
Yeah,
so that is one thing.
I really like the ideas. The questions were very good.
Yeah, a lot of things are there. So now the craziness has started now. So the ideas to POC to the business model.
Yeah.
The one student, the 2 years back, so he was a student of Ramaiah. Now he started his own consulting services.
Okay.
So we especially, so after seeing the topic, he came here and then he participated. So he wanted to ask so many questions because we are all connected now. So things are moving very fast. So because of the Industrial Revolution 4.0 technologies and all.
Yeah.
So the presentation was excellent. The one question is, so because, so you have done the integrated climate adoption model, ICAM model. So there are a lot of parameters you have considered to develop the models. So 6 or 7 models were there. And then bottom line is you have developed the knowledge-based system also, the expert system also. So, and to activate the scenario analysis, right? So is it this, whatever the system you have developed, it is an open system, is it? So we can inject more kind of models now.
Yeah. It's an open in terms of it's a published one. It's open. But as I said, not every area may be equipped with that sort of information. Like, let's say thermal imagery. There may not be a thermal imagery acquired in a different study area. So you may have to drop some of them. You may have to inject some of them. Yeah, so it's like that.
And then especially, some models like this, erosion model, suitability model, these are the models, which you can able to integrate in future.
Yes. That's what
And then regarding the forecasting, the scenario analysis, are you going to adopt some kind of the machine learning or artificial intelligence models for forecasting?
It's all the IPCC numbers. Whatever they say, this is going to increase, and sometimes it's, as you know, the climate change is sometimes very political. It's a jargon. It's not whatnot. Yeah. But at least to the known extent, where we know the flooding is happening, where we know things are worse, irrespective of when we say climate change, definitely we see the sudden drop of rainwater. It's no longer those 3-day rains and all. It's like a bucket of water pouring and going away. Now we have to adapt to that sort of scenarios. Definitely it has changed. The way the rainfall intensity has increased and the duration has decreased.
So
it's
the one
dumping,
one question, specifically the one student he asked about the validation part. Let's say, so down the line after 1 year, so you are going to forecast or scenario analysis.
Yeah.
Is it something the short forecasting validation has been done through this model?
The validation is only what we can see from historical stuff. And the only thing what we do is when we predict something, let's say we come up with a 100-year model and saying that the extents are this one, right? Then we look at, okay, have we have any 100-year event before? And have you have a photo of that one? What are the extents of that one? Does this match with that one? So that sort of thing. Yeah. So most of the areas, because these cities, whenever there is an event, someone will fly and they take aerial photo, showing even for the emergency services, they have to take it. Even the helicopters will go. So they actually capture the event. So for us, meeting those events, if our model is able to establish those events, we can also trust its future.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this model is basically focused to coastal, right?
This is if we include sea level rise.
Sea level rise. So however,
city to city it happens. If there is no sea, you drop that parameter.
Oh, okay. So then
if there is no river, drop that parameter.
Okay. So it can be extended for so other parameters or other conditions.
Other parameters also. That's what I'm saying. For example, Jaipur, you don't have sea, you don't have a river.
Jaipur is hot cake.
It's completely, you will be focusing on the tree health, soil moisture, and how to, even a 5% AEPs also, how to maximize its storage into the ground, that sort of things. You'll focus too much into drought conditions.
That's right.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Okay. So at the end, so we are on behalf of RIT, management, students, community, and the faculty. So we once again thank you for your active participation, for delivering a wonderful presentation. So hope in future, so we want to see you here in RIT campus. So thank you once again. Yeah. So thank you all. Take care.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
okay.
You.
Yeah, one announcement. So tomorrow, 10 to 11:30, we have one webinar from Mr. Shubham Kerala. He is from University of Texas, Arlington. So he is going to deliver on the topic, bridging urban planning issues using geospatial technology image data. And in the afternoon, Dr. Syed Lesani. So he is a researcher from National Forest School of Engineers, Morocco. So he is delivering on the topic, precision forestry, geospatial data and machine learning oriented approaches. So I appreciate to take out the time and utilize the service of these experts for tomorrow. Thank you.